Fortunately for Corbett, his old opponent Jim Jeffries was persuaded to leave his farm, come out of retirement, and regain the title for the white race. An overweight and out-of-condition Jeffries brought Corbett into his training camp to advise on tactics and to act as chief of propaganda. "Take it from me, that black boy has a yellow streak," Corbett said of Johnson, leading one commentator to remark that Corbett was the most vocal racist in Jeffries' corner. He hated all blacks, but Johnson more than the rest. As the day of the Johnson-Jeffries fight approached, Corbett's old rival, John L. Sullivan, showed up at the training camp to report on the events for the New York Times. If both Corbett and Sullivan disliked Jack Johnson, they disliked each other even more. They argued, and for a while it seemed that the two would trade blows just like they had in the ring nearly 20 years previously. But this was supposed to be a battle of black against white, and the old enemies were enticed to shake hands as a show of solidarity. This staged reconciliation lasted for as long as the cameras were rolling, and the hostility between Corbett and Sullivan never died.
The Jeffries-Johnson fight in 1910, the film version is preceded with footage showing training scenes, but principally John L. Sullivan making a rare appearance on film. Many journalists who later wrote about Corbett's role in there talked about him race baiting Jack Johnson. So that handshake of solidarity from John L. Sullivan is really show white solidarity of trying to pass the heavyweight championship belt down through these ranks.
"16,000 spectators swamped Reno, Nevada on the day of the fight, July 4th, 1910. Bands played the Star-Spangled Banner, and the streets were lined with American flags.
Ladies and gentlemen, over here. Why, here's two familiar faces, Walter Catlett and Willie Collier.
Say, Mr. Corbett, you don't fight anymore, do you?
Oh, no, I haven't had the gloves on years.
I'm sorry, Jim. With all these big purses they're giving now?
Oh, a lot of money in it.
$1 million for a bout.
And only a few rounds.
Yes. You didn't get that kind of money in your time, Jim.
I should say not. You know, Willie, what I got when I fought John L. Sullivan?
No. I know what you got when you fought Fitzsimmons.
How are you feeling, Walter?
Here in 1919 is Charles Ponzi, self-styled financial wizard, loafing at his Boston mansion with his lovely wife and proud and adoring mother. Ponzi's proved his boast he can make 50% profit on investments in 90 days, and wise men follow him. To show he doesn't do it with mirrors, Ponzi opened shop on Boston stage with Billy B. Van as office boy. And among his celebrated clients is none other than gentleman Jim Corbett. Ponzi puts over his usual big deal. But the audience that watches spellbound here is later dumbfounded when government proves Ponzi a swindler.
Corbett was now in his 50s and too old to play the leading man. His vaudeville act had run its course, but he switched with great success to the lecture platform. He gave talks on physical fitness, manliness, and sportsmanship, and he always wound up with amusing tales of his exploits in the prize ring.
Well, now, would you advise a young man to take up prize fighting as a career?
Well, no. I wouldn't advise a boy to take up boxing as a profession. Now, get me right. Not that I'm ashamed of boxing, or ashamed that I was a boxer. Well, I'm very proud of that. It not alone helped me in a business way, but it kept me young and gave me a great constitution. But my reason for not wanting a boy to take up the profession is that the chances are so small for him to get anywhere. When you realize there are thousands of boys striving to become champions, and so few of them do.
When you consider what he did for most of his life, Not only in terms of making money, but in terms of the amount of time he spent in these fields. He spent much more time as an actor than he ever did as a fighter. Remember, he only had about 20 full-fledged Queensberry Pro fights.
You know, his presence as a public speaker,
So here we have, a generation later, Gene Tunney, the most scientific heavyweight of his era, using a similar style of Corbett, defeating a seemingly unbeatable brute, Jack Dempsey, using the art of boxing, the sweet science, the father of which was Jim Corbett.